Well, welcome everybody. Really appreciate your time and attention to be here with us today. Really looking forward to everything that's going on in our chapter right now. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about some announcements, and bear with me because we have a lot going on. So first of all is that we do have coaching week that starts next week. It runs 16th through the 22nd, and it's the International Coaching Week. So all over the world, there are different things going on about coaching. Not that there isn't every day of our lives, because just how expansive coaching has become, but it is kind of a great way of just kind of letting the world know about coaching as well. And so we do have some activities that are going on in our chapter. And so just to kind of go over the presentations that we have going on in our chapter, is that the first presentation in our week-long lineup of the coaching week begins on Monday. We have Trigina and Jonathan, Trigina Haley and Jonathan Ritz. They will open up the conversation about a practitioner's conversation and what comes after coaching. In the second of our coaching week events on Tuesday, join Mary Kravitz on her presentation on client generation is the lifeblood of your business, but with so many marketing options, how do you cut through the noise and find the best strategy for growth? And then in our Wednesday event, we bring you a double feature. And the first one is Becky Tibbetts will present on surviving to thriving in today's hustle culture. And then our second host is Marcy Allman, will be presenting on break the link to shift your mindset. And the last of our coaching week sessions will be Chris Coachella. He'll dive into decision making, and you'll learn 5 steps about decision making process that will help the future of you and for your clients as well. So you can sign up on our website under the events page, and that's where all the events are being there. And so they're just going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from I think 12 to 1, if I remember right. It's the noon time, so I think it's just 12 to 1. So I'm getting some nods from the other board members, so thank you. We do have some social events coming up as well. We had our social event last month in Salt Lake. We have another one coming up on May 26th at the Sprague Branch Library from 3 to 5. We have the ongoing one that's been happening in Idaho, or Eagle, Idaho, on the 4th Thursdays on the 26th as well. And then in Boise, there's one on June 2nd. And these are all in-person gatherings. So we're really excited to get into these in-person gatherings and get to know people and whatnot. There is a virtual social on June 9th that will be going on as well. And you can sign up for any of these on our events page as well. And then next month, we have Kathy Liska, who will talk about the ethical use of technologies as a coach, which will be a really fascinating program for us in June. And then we will be taking July and August off with our monthly programs, and then resume them in September. With that, we have some change coming to our chapter. Today is my last program as president, because we are changing to a new board come June. And Amber is stepping into the presidency. And so this is our board. And so, Amber, I don't know if there was something you wanted to jump in and just kind of talk about that. I also have a slide on the voting process as well.
Sure, thanks, Todd. Yeah, just to let everybody know, this will be the incoming board, and to make it official, we will send out a vote to membership. These awesome people have volunteered to help us in the coming year, and we're really fortunate and to have some co-chairs this year, which really makes it nice too. Just even more brain power around things. So keep in mind for all of you who, maybe thought about the board or are interested, every year we're looking for people to volunteer and be with us, and we welcome you. So this will be going out, and so please go ahead and vote so we can make it official for the incoming board. And all of us here are available to you with any questions, concerns, and we'll be working on some new initiatives for the coming year as well. So, but thank you so much, Todd. And Todd gets to hang out around with us too. So you don't get to skate out just yet, Todd.
That is true. I will be around.
Thank you.
For sure. And so the vote, there will be an email that will go out hopefully sometime today, and ask all of you to participate and give your vote on the new board. It will be open basically from today to the 25th. And then we look at the results on the 26th. We have our board meeting on the 27th to make that transition to the new board. And then the communication will be sent out on May 31st. So definitely participate in that vote as a member. We really appreciate it. And look forward to the new year with new exciting things coming down the road. So just a couple of things. This presentation today, you can earn the CCEUS. There will be a survey that Stacy will be putting in the chat towards the end that you can take, and then put in your email. That way you can get the CCEUS sent to you. There will also be an email with the survey link that you can take that as well. And so that way you can go to ICF Global and update your CCEUS there. So after the presentation today, we will go into the breakout rooms like what we have been doing, and there will be some questions that Linda will discuss at the end of her presentation, and that you can take into that networking session. But definitely spend some time getting to know each other, where you're at, your name, and that way it's our time to just kind of network and build that sense of community here in our chapter. So with that, I want to introduce Linda Monk. She is the director of the International Association for Journal Writing. As a registered social worker and certified professional coactive coach, Linda has specifically been in therapeutic journaling about self-care, burnout prevention, and personal growth. She regularly speaks, like today, and teaches on healing and transformational power of writing. She is an author of several books, and including a forthcoming book called The Great Book of Journaling. She's previous co-leader of the Life, Vision, and Enhancement Community of Practice with the ICF Global. And her and her family lives in Salt Spring Island, British Columbia, Canada. So we are really excited to have her here today with us. And I will turn it over to you, Linda.
Hey, thanks, Todd. Thanks for that introduction and for your work as president. Congratulations to the transition in your board. I will just share my screen here and we will dive in together. Thanks everyone for being here to talk about something I'm really passionate about. I just have to come at that again. That didn't share very well. We practiced before, so I just have to start it again. Let's see here. You're not seeing a green slide, are you? Or not a green slide, a single slide.
No, we're not.
Okay. Just let me try this again. I think we're getting closer to success. No, you're not seeing it now either, are you, Todd?
We see the PowerPoint program, not the single slide.
Right. Okay. We're going to be third time lucky here.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. Why does this not want to do this? It's still not doing it, is it?
Yeah, we just see your entire desktop.
Yeah.
Now
Can we see
one
it?
slide.
Fourth time lucky, or was that third? I lost count. One too many times. Thanks, everyone. We've learned a lot in the past couple of years during COVID, and that one of those things is just keep pushing enough buttons and something eventually happens. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. In the time we have together, I want to take you in as much as possible to introducing you to the power of transformational journaling, something that we can use ourselves as coaches for our own well-being and personal growth and reflective practice, and of course, something we can introduce and integrate into our transformational work with our clients. I'll just say a bit more about myself as your presenter. When you never meet before, it's nice just to have a feel for who you're with. And I'm a mom to 2 teen boys who are much taller than when this photo was taken. And our dear Sadie girl and my husband, Peter. And I'm also a daughter to my wonderful mom who is suffering from Alzheimer's. And like all of us, we live full lives. And I think it's always important to keep that in mind as coaches, that we serve from the wholeness of who we are. Even when we have our coach hat on, the people that matter to us are part of our work. They're part of the reason we do our work. When we're with our clients, the people who are in their life are part of why they're there to improve themselves and get support and coaching. So I always like to keep this in mind, because when we turn to journaling, we can turn to it for lots of different reasons. And while it's a solitary practice, it is also in support of the relationships we're in support of our personal relationships, in support of the work and coaching relationships that we have. And I love that something that is such a solitary practice in many ways is also a relational practice. Because the more we know who we are, what we think, how we feel moment to moment, the more we show up with that deep level of presence in the coaching work that we do and the lives that we're living, of course. So in the time we have together, I'd like to share about transformational journaling. And one of the best ways to learn about it is to actually engage in some of it. So I hope you do have a notepad and pen handy. And I will share these slides after the presentation. So please know that you'll get them. So you have that in mind if you're trying to take notes. So I'd like to do a poll, and it'll happen a little differently than typical polls on Zoom, as the poll isn't set up in the background, but we're a small group here and we can be adaptive. So what I'd like you to do is just use the chat, and I know that won't give you anonymity the way a poll does, so it's your choice to share, of course. But I just would like to get a sense of what is your experience with journaling. Number one would be you're a regular journal writer, meaning it's in your life on a fairly regular basis. And that could be, not necessarily daily, but you touch into it probably every week at least. You journal sporadically. Number two, you used to journal in the past, but you got away from it. Number three. Number four, you only journal when you have something stressful going on, but when things sort of level out, you move away from the journaling. And number five, you've never tried journaling before, but you're curious about it. So let's just use the chat. It just helps me have a sense of who's here. Thanks, Tanya, Kent, Tara, Amber, Stacy, Hillary, Jeanette, thank you. So it looks like everyone, almost everyone, has had an experience of a couple people who never tried it before. So you'll have a chance today, and the rest you've gone to the page before for the purpose of expressing your thoughts and feelings. So thank you for that. I appreciate your participation. So I actually would like to start just giving you a chance to go to the page. And we're just going to do what's known as a timed writing. Sometimes these are called journaling sprints. I use them a lot in my coaching sessions, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes partway through, sometimes at the end. And they're just a way to get contact and be engaged with that act of self-expression through writing. So I'm just going to do a quick grounding exercise, and I'll invite you to pick up your pen, and you can see we have a couple gentle prompts there. You will not be asked to share what you write. It's really a chance for you to go to the page. So I just invite you to connect with your breath. You don't have to do anything special with it. You can close your eyes if you wish, lower your gaze. You're just gathering your attention inward, minimizing external distractions. And just notice your breath moving in and out of your body, giving you life. Just sitting, breathing in, breathing out. Writing begins with the breath. And just notice the surface beneath you, the chair you're sitting in, maybe a couch. Just allow that surface to support you. As you sit with your presence here in this one moment on this one day, and just coming back to the breath when you're ready to pick up your pen. And simply start with one of these two prompts. Right now I notice, or right now I feel. And there's no right or wrong. You're just making that connection with your own awareness. Right now I notice, right now I feel. And just keep your pen moving, trusting it to take you where it will. Just another 20 seconds. And just finish the sentence that you're on. It's okay if there's more to say. You can always come back to it later. You're just warming up, just meeting the page, meeting yourself on the page. And just kind of shake that out. We're going to do another journaling activity in a little bit. Just want to give you a chance to engage with it as we begin to talk about it. So I'm going to talk for a little bit here and share a bit about what is journaling, who can benefit most from it, some of the considerations with it, some of my own experience with it, and then we will transition into another experiential exercise, and then we'll open it up for some discussion just to give you a sense of where we'll go here. So journal writing. We all know what journal writing is, and by definition, it is a way of finding narrative, constructing story, and of depicting experience and relationships in our lives. Narrative is a way of making sense of experience. And that quote's from Kate Thompson. She has a book on journaling for helping professionals. And what's really key is this idea that we're using story, language, words, our own self-expression to actually make meaning, to make sense of our experiences, to gain insights from our experience. And it can be done on our own, which is typically how it's done. And it also can be done to great effect in community with others, which is something I spend a lot of time facilitating within journaling groups and journal coaching programs. And I'll say more about that at the end or a little bit later. So you notice the title of this session is Transformational Journaling. And what makes journal writing transformational is a few things. And this is a definition again from Kate Thompson. She says that therapeutic or transformational journal writing implies the conscious intent and deliberate attempt to write in ways which will produce change, healing, and growth. In other words, we go to the page with the intention that we are doing it to actually bring about those results, to bring about personal change, personal growth, healing. So that intention actually begins to shape what happens when we get there, when we start writing. And secondly, it's reflective. We're thinking about something, we're pondering, we're exploring, and then it's reflexive, meaning we begin to integrate that the awareness that we've gained from the reflecting itself to have that greater understanding of ourselves and the world we live in. So why is this important in coaching? We all know that a bridge we cross in coaching is to increase awareness, help our clients increase awareness, and then to take action on that awareness. So in that way, journaling isn't just a passive process. It is a very engaged and active process leading to real change in people's lives, new choices, new insights, and so forth. And there's lots of research. There's over 30 years, 40 years now of research done in the expressive writing and journaling field. And some research by a colleague of mine, Dr. John Evans, and his colleague, Dr. James Pennebaker, in a book called Expressive Writing. And I can send you a reading list as well with these slides with a number of these books I'll mention throughout. But transformational journaling that really impacts change, generally comes from, most likely happens when people are willing, where they have that value for personal growth, they value introspection, and they have that willingness to do it through writing. And generally people who want to experience the emotional and physical, psychological, spiritual benefits of writing for wellness. Again, there's that intention, that deliberate attempt to write for those purposes, and hence more of those results will come. And the research does show, like with probably most anything that we might do for our well-being and growth, that some, but not all, will benefit from writing. So it's not a one size fits all. Some people really love it. It fits for them. Some people have more resistance to it. Some people just don't like it, and they'll be doing something else for their personal growth. I've really enjoyed in my coaching practice introducing journaling to people. And even if they only do it in the coaching session, they'll often say how much insight they gained from it. If we do even a 2-minute, like you just did, a 5-minute, quick timed writing, people are often surprised at what they access through that, taking that reflective time, because we process differently when we're speaking than when we're writing. And we process differently again when we take our writing and we read it out loud, if that's part of what happens. So there's a lot going on cognitively, emotionally, when we're engaged in journal writing in this way. The research also shows that there are certain things that can hinder how healing or transformational journaling will be. So for example, if someone's constantly focusing on negative in their writing, so a lot of people will use their journal as a dumping ground. And they just, every negative, hard, painful thing that happens is what fills the pages. And that serves a purpose. It's cathartic. It allows people to process, make sense of their experience. But we don't want to pitch our tent there. We don't want that to be the only thing that happens in the pages of a journal. And if it is, it can hinder that transformational quality of journal writing, because we also want to use it to cultivate joy and gratitude and resilience, and use it to foster those aspects of our lives as well. The other is, if people are using writing to heal and they've had some sort of recent trauma, for example, it can be re-traumatizing if people go too quickly to try to use journaling to figure it out. And that can be, it's just something to keep in mind. People need to practice self-care, of course, but it is something that can get in the way. Sometimes there needs to be a little distance from what people might be going through, even things like making career changes or all the changes people have gone through during COVID. Sometimes people are too in it to actually have journaling be a true cathartic process. And so there's some pacing at times to consider. The other is if people are reflecting without insight. So just kind of, pouring it all out, but not really garnishing or mining it for any new insights. That obviously, that reflection for insight is where the transformation comes. And the other is if it's too controlled. If people are, they're not going to say this, not going to say that, if they're really censoring what they're saying, or they fear someone's going to read what they write, or they just don't really allow their authentic voice out on the page, or there's that, critical voice going about, am I writing it right, or worrying about grammar and all of those sorts of things. With our personal writing, we can say whatever we want. There's no way to get it wrong. You're always the expert of your own experience as a journal writer. And in that way, it's a very empowering act. And people will say that. I facilitate regular groups on journaling for comfort and calm during the cancer journey with an organization here in Canada called Wellspring. And one of the things the participants say is that the journaling helps them take back control. They often feel that, that's a whole other conversation, but so many things are happening to them. With journaling, it's something they are doing for themselves. And that's been really interesting to hear their feedback. And it's come up in each group that I've run. So it's just an example that that sense of mastery in one's own experience is important. That voice, that control. And of course, that's very true in coaching. We're working in an empowerment way with our clients to help them access their own inner wisdom, to live true to that, to make choices that align with their core values and so forth. So many people use journaling for two primary reasons: to record the events of their day and also to vent their feelings and emotions. And those are both very valid aspects of journaling. And I like to kind of widen that net a bit and look at, well, we can also use journaling to transform our thoughts, transform our feelings, and transform our actions. So not just capture them. Today I did this and I did that, but so what? What does that tell me about who I am, the life I'm living, what's important to me, and so forth. We can see patterns in our journal, patterns of thinking. We can detect patterns of maybe limiting beliefs, and then we can work to transform them. We can maybe see we're taking actions that maybe aren't serving us. And we can explore in our journal, well, what might be more helpful? What might be a better action or choice to make? So it really becomes a companion practice, just like coaching, for exploring and doing the work to live our best lives and do our best work as leaders and as people and so forth. I just want to do a little show and tell. This is, this journal is what you see on the slide. And it's actually as far as I remember, my first childhood journal at about 8 or 9 years old, and a little pencil down the spine. And you can see it's like the size of a large postage stamp. I obviously didn't have much to say then. This is my journal now. There's more going on, and I still have my pen down the spine. And it can be fun to have a journal that you enjoy and like, and that really, whether you want to write in lines or do you want blank pages, are you going to be, putting things in your journal? Is there going to be images in there and poetry and things you cut out? So all of that can shape the type of journal you use. So for example, with one of my coaching clients, they were really feeling stuck, like they just couldn't decide what they wanted to do. And so I got a great big 18 by 24 sketch pad and introduced that as the journaling space for the session. Because it was big, it was expansive. What if you had more options? What if you didn't, have to just stay in this space? What if you had room to roam? And we used the journal itself, the type of paper we were using, as a metaphor for what we were exploring in the coaching. Likewise, I had a client who just felt completely overwhelmed. It was during COVID, they had young kids at home. They were trying to work at the kitchen table, and they had 3 kids under 5. Their husband was away working in another province. And in her coaching session, I invited her to get a small journal with lines. In other words, it could be contained. It didn't have to be overwhelming like everything else. And we limited how many pages she filled with the work we were doing together. And so I just share that because you can really get creative with journaling when you bring it into your coaching practice. And it can be a lot of fun for you and, of course, for your clients. Really, there's lots of possibilities. So I just want to share a little bit about how I even came into this world of journaling and having it be so central to the work that I'm doing over the years. And when I was in my 20s, in my early social work career, I was working in quite high stress, high trauma work. I worked in child protection. I worked as a crisis response social worker. I did a lot in the area of suicide intervention. I worked in a hospital, in an ICU department, an emergency department. And of course, you're learning as a social worker, they teach you that self-care is important so that you don't burn out. And